I'm going to presentation. And overview of National Health Insurance Authority. Prospects. Okay. Thank you. This is our for today. According to the all people have without financial hardship. It includes the full range of essential health services from health promotion essential healthcare services and is different from and requires that health visualization is relatively neat. This is the chart for the worker cost. Development, financial protection, equity, self-economy, and quality delivered. Key facts about universal coverage. Countries that are achieving universal coverage include the United Kingdom, Over 800 million people of all United Nations have agreed to achieve universal health coverage by 2030 as part of the Sustainable Development Goal. History of universal health coverage. In 1962, the need for health insurance in Nigeria was first recognized. A bill was presented to the parliament for its enactment in Lagos area. However, it met a stiff resistance by the Nigerian Medical Association because they were concerned about the use of insurance organizations and the composition of the council then. Also, in 1980, there was drop in oil prices, hampering government's funding of free health programs, which led to the introduction of cost recovery mechanisms and user fee drug resolving funds. In 1986, the health sector allocation was reduced upon introduction of structural adjustment program. In 1988, the committee was commissioned by the then minister that recommended an act for the establishment of national health insurance. In 1999, NHIS was established through Act 35 of 1999. And in 2005, it was formally launched with the formal sector social health insurance program. Benefits of universal health coverage. Poverty alleviation, that's SDG 1. We have improved nutrition, SDG 2. Education, SDG 4. Gender equality, SDG 5. Economic growth and job creation, SDG 8. Peaceful and inclusive society, SDG 16. This is just a chart of the benefit of universal health coverage: greater equity, improved health outcome, efficient, accountable, and transparent health system, reduced poverty, greater productivity, increased job, financial protection. This is a slight overview of the NHIS. It's an agency of government which is mandated to ensure that all Nigerians have access to affordable and quality health care. The purpose of NHI is to ensure financial protection, preventing financial hardship and catastrophic expenditure resulting from out-of-pocket expenses. Since the official launch in 2005, only about 4.2% of the population has been covered. The NHI operates as a tripartite public-private partnership involving health maintenance organizations, the NHI, and healthcare facilities, to design a program that ensures inclusiveness of every section of the population. The NHI has a 10-year strategic plan 2020, which is a roadmap that would help the country achieve universal health coverage by 2030. The roles of NHI in achieving universal health coverage. We outline some of the roles that would align with the state social health insurance agencies mandate. Resource mobilization, tooling, purchasing, providing quality health services, improving access and utilization of healthcare services. NHI plays a huge role in promoting equity access to healthcare services by accrediting and funding primary healthcare facilities in remote areas, hence reducing the disparity in access to utilization of healthcare between urban and rural areas. Those are the recent landmark achievements by the NHI towards attaining the universal health coverage. Repealing the NHIS Act 2004, which has been changed now to NHIA Act 2022, We'll talk about this. I'll expatiate on this much later because it has so many things that have to do with universal health coverage. In short, 80% of the act that was being repealed, they are more of like anti-usage. But this one, the 2022 act, is encompassing. Secondly, the introduction of basic healthcare provision fund, which source of fund is from at least 1% of consolidated revenue, donor agencies, partners, and others, and it is domiciled at the state social health insurance agencies. Disbursement of this fund is through the 4 gateways, namely the NHI gateway, the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency gateway, the Emergency Medical Treatment gateway, and the NCDC gateway. NHI has its own share of 48.75% in the total pool of 100% of the funds, in which its main function is to purchase services. We call them the basic minimum packages for health services. That 48% is only made to purchase services in the primary health care. Then we have the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency gateway, which has the 45%, in which 20% of this goes to procurement of drugs, vaccines, and consumables. Then we have 15%, which goes to infrastructural development of the primary health care. Then the remaining 10% goes to human resource for health, that's human resource development. So it shows it funds. Later, when the program is fully implemented, even the primary health care can train their staff, can add more ad hoc staff from their own personal money without waiting for the state government to fund them. This is a very laudable achievement. The emergency medical treatment has the 5%. This takes care of the emergencies and the ambulance services, which you see later. We have the NCDC. This is pulled aside for public health emergencies, just like the one we had, the COVID, Ebola, and the rest. So 1.25% now is set aside. We don't have to wait for any pandemic to come before we source one. Now this money will be set aside. Also, the mechanism for implementation of vulnerable group funds, which will target 83 million vulnerable groups. We'll talk about that later. And the introduction of a laudable program by the scheme known as the Group, Individual, and Family Social Health Insurance Program. This program was designed mainly for everybody. When I say everybody, I mean each and every individual Nigerian is being covered under this program. I made mention of the coverage in the formal sector to be only 4.2%. That means what we cover or what NHIS is to cover is just the people working at the federal civil service. Those are the federal. But this gift sheet here, it has come to stay. The G there stands for gift sheet general. The R there stands for gift sheet retirees. The C stands for gift sheet constituency project, and the N stands for gift sheet N for NYSC. This gift sheet program is designed to cover social groups, menial workers, retirees, the corp members. All of this is encompassed. And what will amaze you the more is the federal government has set aside funds for this, and it's already kickstarted. Because with this gift sheet, you can just walk into any NHI office, you register with only 15,000 naira per annum, and you get all the services that those in the formal sector can access. I mean the primary services, secondary services, and the tertiary services. This 15,000 naira covers. So you can just walk into any NHI office and register. Also, the gift sheet N now has taken care of one of the biggest challenge we have. Those are the corpers. Now, the core members are being covered under the gift sheet N of the NHI. So all core members that you see around now is being covered under NHI with the full services that is being required. And you also have access to both the primary, secondary, and tertiary. Under this basic healthcare, in Taraba State here, we're still at the implementation stage. together with the Taraba State Contributory Health Insurance Agency, we are still at the accreditation stage, though we have commenced enrollment too. We have covered out of the 16 local government together with the state social insurance, we have covered 9 local government out of 16, in which our target for 2022 for Taraba State is to enroll 22,600, of which we have already enrolled 19,506 already. This is also another, and this program too, it's been domiciled at the state social health insurance agencies across the country. So it's meant for the vulnerable groups and the poor of the poor. We also have the introduction of National Medical Supply Initiative, which is also a laudable program. This program is being gazetted in the 2022. This initiative is a partnership between Roche Pharmaceutical Company and NHIA. That means to tell you in the near future, in some few months to come, NHIA will start producing their own branded drug. So maybe from there, you will start seeing NHIA branded drugs in the healthcare facility. That is to say, the problem of out of stock, the problem is generic drug, this drug is fake, this drug is not up to standard, will be phased out by this initiative. And it's already in the pipeline now, almost 70%. Another laudable program by the NHI is the introduction of cancer drug coverage. This program has already been kickstarted. We are in partnership with some of the pharmaceutical companies that are producing these cancer drugs to subsidize this thing. And this initiative is in the ratio of 50, 30, and 20. The pharmaceutical companies will subsidize the anti-cancer drugs, 50% subsidy. Then your own coverage under the NHIA will cover 30%. And the patient, that's the enrollee, will have to pay 20% of the cost of the cancer drugs. Challenges of universal health coverage in Nigeria. Adequate government financing for health, but after expenditure as for 2019 in Nigeria, it stands at $71.47 per capita. While if you compare it with United States, which is 10,921, or the United Kingdom, 4,312, which is on the high side. Also, government general health expenditure in the Abuja Declaration 2001, it was stated that at least 15% of annual budgets go to health. But up to now in Nigeria, we're still battling between 3 to 4%. We're just moving back and forth, which is grossly adequate. Huge out-of-pocket payment. Over 70% of current health expenditure in Nigeria is out of pocket. I know people who can attest to that. Most of the people pay out of pocket, and this has led to financial catastrophe in many families. The head of family will be admitted. Before you know it, it has drained all the money that was required for school fees and feeding the family. Under prioritization of primary health care, this is the structure of financing the health sector in Nigeria. You see, it has an inverted pyramid there, of which the federal government has the allocation of the budget of up to 50%. The state government has 31%, and the local government have 19%. While in the real sense, the healthcare delivery is inverted. The federal hospitals usually see about 19% of the patients. The state have almost 47%, and the local government facilities sees about 34% of the patients, which means to say the funding is more at the federal level, but the patient is more at the local government level. Corruption and poor transparency and accountability. Non-mandatory nature of health insurance is a foundational problem that was NHIS. Poverty increases the need for healthcare while simultaneously decreasing the ability to finance it. Poverty and other social determinants of health, such as income and education, have profound effects in the progress towards universal health coverage. Prospects and way forward. domestic resource mobilization, review of NHIS Act. NHIS Act 35 of 2004 has been repealed and is being replaced by the new NHIA Act. This act has made the NHIA mandatory now, instead of the old act that had made health insurance to be optional. Now, under this act, health insurance in Nigeria, it's mandatory. Strengthening primary health care. Funding of primary health care has been given a priority through the introduction of the Basic Health Care Provision Fund, which was established by the National Health Act 2014, which focuses on financing health care for the vulnerable population and the primary health care, and is currently in its implementation phase. I mentioned something earlier. Prospects and way forward, we continue. We have building strong governance and leadership structures, pooling and purchasing reform, sensitization and enlightenment, embarking on campaigns, education and sensitization about the scheme. This will promote acceptance and positive perception of the scheme, while eliminating the negative perception and addressing cultural issues causing unwillingness to enroll by fostering understanding of health insurance. In Taraba State here, we have itemized some of the way forward for the health sector. We have the introduction of the formal health sector. That is, the state government should strengthen the Taraba State contributory health insurance in assisting it to enroll the state and local government civil servants to be incorporated. Also, the private sector health insurance program for the organized private sector in the state. We have the vulnerable groups. I made mention of the vulnerable group, of which the federal government has set aside funds. So what the state government needs to do is just to key into this program and see how to address and reap the difference from it. We have the informal sector, which is the school health insurance program. The federal government has already initiated the tertiary institution social health insurance program. So the state government needs to key into this program. The one in the NHIA now is already domiciled in the federal universities and other tertiary institutions here. Then we have the community health insurance. Also, the federal government has its own initiative, which is the CBSHIP, the community-based health insurance. So what the state needs to do is to key into these programs and tap from it. We have political will and commitment for the state government to increase budget for health, passage of mandatory national health bill, establishment of safety net fund, mark tax for funding the vulnerable. We also have institutional strengthening, stewardship role of the State Ministry of Health, increased funding of State Primary Healthcare Development Agency and the Taraba State Contributory Health Insurance Agency, increased regulatory role of Taraba State Contributory Health over the primary health care. Also, we have inter and intrasectoral collaboration, boosting of income generation in the state, integration of various multiple vertical funding towards community health insurance, close collaboration with other health interventions and grassroots, constructive engagement of all stakeholders such as the organized labor, the healthcare providers, State Ministry of Health, State Primary Health Care, and the State Social Health Insurance Agency, and others. In conclusion, in spite of all the challenges hindering Nigeria's progress towards universal health coverage, recent reforms by the NHI proves that universal health coverage is achievable and not just in the right. Multi-sector collaboration, strengthening all the building blocks of the health system, strong political will, implementation of NHIA 10-year strategic plan, and citizen participation and advocacy are some of the major actions that will help speed up the Nigerians' journey towards universal health coverage by 2030. Thank you very much. working, busy eating. Seriously, it's your work. When he was talking about how to work in the religion. My father was sick. He saw my coming. Let's continue. This So we'll continue with the presentation now. We want to make comparative analysis between NHI and NHI now. This one looks like a law. So that's why I want to talk about it. If you were to be your own profession, I will not be comparative. So this one I'll pick one after another. So you follow me as I go. I was going to comparative analysis of NHI 2022 and NHI 2024. That's what I'm trying to say. The repeal is just like the Old Testament and New Testament. Hello? Yes, but all of them, they are working together. Are you hearing me? So, highlights of NHI 2020. That is law. Section 1, Section 2, establishment of NHI. That is it. But the repeal, that's NHI Act. 1, establishment of NHI Acts. I should use this one. I thought my own is better. So, number 2, Section 2, objective of the authority is to promote and regulate and integrate health insurance schemes. In Section 5 of the NHI Act, provided for objectives, but did not provide clear-cut objective of promotion, regulation, and integration. That is, hello? You don't hear me well? This thing is sick. Oh. Hello? It's sick. Can you treat it for me now? If you are doctor, can anybody come and treat it for me? So, you doctors, when I want for the medicine, hello? I want to be one of you. Hello? It's my child. I will read that medicine, not with me again. Okay. We'll continue now. Let's go to this. Some of you have attended a program that I'm more than this, just to come and entertain you and go. Number 3, Section 3B and Section 14, subsection 1. It says in the Acts, ensure that health insurance is mandatory for every Nigerian and regular resident, legal residents. That one, you know it. Section 16 of the NHS Act make this optional. That was before we moved to NHIA. Are you following me well? Move forward. Section 3, development of the operational guidelines and review at least once in 5 years. This section number 6, 48 subsection, make provision for development of operational guidelines, but not only states. What is happening? Okay. He said section 6, subsection 6 and 48, blah, 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 made provision for, okay. This one? Okay. Where am I touching here? Okay. Okay. Now I'm here. Made provision for development of operational guidelines, but not only states the period of review. But here, you see what has been stated here.
development of operational guidelines and review at least once in every 5 years. So whatever is done, after 5 years, it will be reviewed. That is by authority. This section, this one is talking about review of tariffs for 3 yearly basis for the mutual satisfaction of healthcare providers, HMOs, Health Insurance Authority. This one, there's nothing like that. Forward. 6. Section 4, subsection 3, establish government council for the authority and change its membership every 5 years, not 15 years. 15 years is 5. So it's a mistake here. It's 5 years, not 15 years. This one is that establish government council. Membership was 11. Representatives of HMO, healthcare providers were members of the governing council. This one, you know the role of HMOs and healthcare facilities. You know what they are doing. So the NHI has exposed them. Continue, Marga. Hello. Ministerial powers. Let's start from here. In the old law, under NHIS, the powers were implied, but in the NHA Act 2022, the power of the council are expressly conferred on the minister in the absence of the board of a board. But this one says, upon dissolution of the council and pending its constitution, the minister shall exercise powers and functions of the council under the act. Let's go here. This one talks about the act gave the minister the power to give council directives of a general nature. Here, the minister of health may give directives on matters of policy. You know what we are talking about. This one, establishment of states and FCT health insurance programs. This one was not there before. It was not here, but it's here. Move forward. The authority shall establish a scheme for the coverage of employees of ministries, departments, and agencies in the federal civil service and other relevant groups. This one, failure to expressly provide for coverage of MDAs. Let's continue. All these things, we are just saying them, you know them. Let's move forward. Okay, private health plans. Here was not in the scheme, but this one is in the act now. That a private health plan, a private health insurance scheme or plan shall cover integrated individuals, employees, or employers or organizations in private sector who may want to buy the scheme for supplementary benefit. You know what I'm talking about, because it is your health. Then this one is implementation of Medicare provision fund. Here it was not there, but in the act it's here. Move forward, my brother. Here is nil, that is under the NHIS, but here in the act has established a vulnerable group fund, which is under the TSCF. This one is nil under the act, source for fund from other donors and whatever. Under the scheme was nil, but under the new act, formula for disbursement from the vulnerable groups fund. That one, we know it, especially those that are working under the teacher. Move forward. This one, nil, under the scheme, nil, the act, management of the vulnerable groups. Okay. Investment of the vulnerable group fund. When it was the scheme, it was nil. Section expenses of vulnerable group fund. Here it was nil. Under the act is there. Then this other one, third-party administrators and healthcare administrators. Here, it was nil under the scheme. Move forward. Now, this number 19, change of nomenclature of the Chief Executive Secretary to General DG. Here was Executive Secretary. Establishment of state offices. Here, the Act provided for the establishment of zonal offices, but very soon the zonal offices will be removed. Continue. Here, under the scheme, the Act provided for the establishment of state and FCT arbitration board. Here, the mediation, reconciliation, and arbitration, where there is a dispute among parties under the Act, the dispute shall be first referred to the authority for mediation and reconciliation in accordance with the operational guidelines. When the reconciliation fails, parties may resort to arbitration. You know what we are talking about. Let's move. Here was nil under the scheme, but under the new acts, powers to sanction HMOs, SCPs, MDAs, insurance brokers, okay, MHAs, insurance companies, bankers, and other licensed managers, all accredited by other authorities. This one, where it was scheme, it was not there. So when you are an HMO or you are a HT, you know yourself. If you default, you know what is going to happen. Let's continue. This is the last slide. It's okay. So with this act, I know you will go through it after I will give it to you. So what we are saying, if you discover that we have not written it well, some of you have more knowledge more than us. You can bring it as input to us. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause for students in this. We have this government projects. So we'll give this opportunity for questions, like this, the idea, opportunity for us to get more information regarding this.
Thank you for the team. National Insurance. The coordinator is not coordinated government. Was doing the message from the mutual insurance scheme. So all these things are said, then you the question is why are we not adopting all these things? Why are we not adopting the state of investigation? And to me, I'm afraid of anything that the government is inside now. Because look at the national base, look at the establishing that the world things to work. Bring private people that also part of the state. Because anything that is that we really need to duty minister and others are not comfortable. We need to have a trust where things will run without government interference. Because from the experience with the Taraba state issue, following up with the neighbor with the unions, it was a very serious issue. Because the unions are telling us down the minimum wage. Let's do the contract for the state, tying down the minimum wage, and all the kind of things. Then the other thing that I observed is the courage to end the conditions. The interacted with some private conditions. The government monitoring. They prefer to work with organizations a form of partnership that meets national health because they tend to explore. For instance, a constitution simply as a private. So if you have a private practice, maybe invite somebody to come and use a constitution, and nobody will get as a private. So it's some of the things. And I believe that maybe we can go things and change to the trust governments. That is not going to be wrong. This country, this all boxes from I want to tell the national health insurance agents public. So you say we know. It's not important. Please, we value this. That's why we created time to listen to you. It's important to us. I would like you know that every has to be marketed. If you don't know about cost, you will not be able to solve the problem. Right from the onset, it will be good if the idea of how much does it take to cover individual. I know that before, about 9,000 naira. In this new scheme, you mentioned 52,000. Is it for a family or for just an individual for the year? Thank you.
I would love to appreciate the team that developed the National Health Insurance Act and appreciating the scheme. From the scheme, we knew that actually there is no money to go. And when it has been expunged, we really know who manage those funds now and what they are the problem. And this lady expunged the act so that we won't come and hear that the health service provider should also be expunged.
Hello. Yeah. The issue of HMO. HMO simply is health maintenance organization. The stand between NHIS and the release. The HMOs will collect the money from NHIS to settle each role that are covered. There are many of them. Why NHIS decided to remove them? One. See, a example here. Will be secondary. Secondary here. They don't want to pick the cost. I think these are the few points that I will make now. That is why NHI decided to keep them by the side. Maybe by the time they may be brought back. Come and answer the one so that I don't forget. I don't know what I said. So you have
The HMOs are being exchanged for
in the NHI there, we have the representative of the CMD, that's healthcare facility, and the representative of the HMO. Now they are no more part of the government. That is why I'm talking about sanctioning now. You know, before it was just like a dog that barks but doesn't bite, but now we can bite. That's what he's saying now. You know, when you have someone who's not like romancing with the enemy, you can't have that person. But now they're out of the door, they don't even know what they're planning. So they have to comply. This is those little clarification there. I hope it's well understood. They are out of the governing board of NHI, but their targeting is still there. What the NHI is trying to do is to remove the function of paying healthcare facilities, the capitation from the HMO. That's what the NHI are trying to do. Fee for service will be left for the HMO to continue to pay the healthcare facility, but the capitation that is causing a lot of headache, and it has been a constant thing that we pay them every month, but they don't do that. That's what we're trying to do now. So most likely from 3 months from now, the NHI will start paying all the healthcare facilities directly their capitations now. Am I clear? Are we together? Then we have the question from my chief here that says trust on government policy. You see, this government we're talking about, who forms the government? We form the government, we are the government. But one thing for sure is, if you look at the formal sector that covers the federal government work, at least we have a success story there. Our major problem with those employees being covered under the formal sector is out of stock. That's the big 80% of the complaints we receive in the office is out of stock. We went to the facility, the drugs are prescribed, but they don't have a drug. That is why this initiative of National Medical Supply Initiative came in, and it's already in full year. Implementation should be in the next 2 or 3 months. We'll start branding our own drugs. We have contracted for pharmaceutical companies, and we have sat down with them, signed MOU. So next time you just see what we call DMO, Drug Management Organization in each state. Those are corporate bodies that will interface between NHIA healthcare facility. So they go to the pharmaceutical company, collect the drugs, and the healthcare facility will procure from them. And all the drugs from now henceforth will be NHIA inspected. So you see, we are making efforts to expunge this out of stock. I think we are taking care of that. The other question is asking about the gift ship program, which is a laudable initiative by the federal government. And that 15,000 naira that we say is per individual per year. If you look at it, your own initiative, if you admit a child with simple malaria, how much are you going to pay? From the IV fluids, anti-malaria, and everything. It's more than that, but this 15,000 naira that you pay for your child or your wife or your uncle or any other person. In short, what is even happening right now, I'm talking to you now. The Association of Tailors have come to our office and registered. The mechanics here in Rock Block are coming in numbers to come and register for their members. So you see, and what will amaze you the more is all the services that you see, the primary, secondary, and tertiary, is being covered too. The way you enjoy the common sector, that's how you will enjoy just 15,000. Why the government did that? That 1% consolidated revenue. You know they say when Nigerian government pulls all the money, custom taxes and everything, the crude oil, they will remove 1% before sharing it, which is very, very good. And this initiative has been gazetted. You know, it's not something that you can reverse easily when something is being gazetted. That's what the federal government did. But that maybe after this government, nobody will come and reverse this initiative. And you see, this gives you can just remain here and your mom will be in Port Harcourt. We just call her, okay, I'm registering you in Taraba in NHIA. I'm paying 15,000 naira for you. Which husband do you like in Port Harcourt? She will say, teacher husband there. We just go there, we register her, send her name, send her NHIA number, they just open a file there for her, and she'll be using her service with it. And if you look at the initiative of the Egyptian end, every year we used to have about 300,000 club members here, and they are being covered. And what you are amazing is the federal government has paid for these club members 100%, which means this 10% that the formal sector used to pay, when you buy drugs, they prescribe drug for 10,000 naira, you pay 10%, right? That's for the formal sector. That's what that. The core members are being covered 100%. The coverage starts from the time they mobilizing till 3 weeks after the treatment. I started this in January, and we have selected facilities across Taraba and all of that. Why the federal government did that is because of numerous healthcare challenges, death of core members, accidents along the line. That's why they extended it to 3 weeks after service. In case you have an accident, what the core member needs to do is just be decided that look at any NHS or health facility.
One year to is covering the notice now.
So if you say I come up from notice, just take a phone and call various meetings. Then you have to come out from. Which is a very, very good initiative. And this is the fifth batch now that are enjoying this program. And the other thing is that as giving up the retirees now, you'll be formal sector, then you just retire. You know this benefit of formal sector before. But this gives you as giving you the opportunity to continue with your facility at just the rate of 15,000 per month. How do you see that? At least it's something to give the government a credit for that. Then I think we are not most of the person. Why is it not working? That was your question. Nothing is working in Taraba. True or false? No. Yes or no?
Business. Ordinarily, this question is not supposed to be to us. It's supposed to be to the commissioner or the of Taraba State contributor. I think you are enemy. Go and meet your commissioner. They will answer this to you. Which other one did you answer? I think that's the only question. It's all right. Thank you.
We'll go for the second. Maybe I'll give the opportunity for 1 or 2. He will conclude. One, wait again.
Rajanji.
Thank you very much. I want to start by thanking the team that has come today to enlighten us on all this new act of National Health Insurance Authority. Now, this is what is the benefit of federal government in Nigeria that has sustained all this time since its inception, 2005 or 2006. It has grown from strength to strength, and for that program is very good. So, thank you for removing the HMOs of the private sector, and I've been part of national health insurance for more than 10 years now. So HMOs have been the problem of NHIS. Now, NHIS authority now has removed them from their core duty because they have not been doing it. None of them, HMOs. They have not gone there. They don't want to go there. So now they have been very good. Now my worry in the involvement of the states now, because it's compulsory now for the states and local government with this new act signed by the federal government. And we must commend the federal government. Let the president who signed this act. It's very, very good because it's only Nigeria and America that is operating here. Ghana is not that country.
HMOs. No other country except Nigeria and US. So how do you compare ourselves with United States? That's one thing we commend the federal government. Now, my worry is involving the states. You told us that we pay a certain percentage. The local government will also pay. Federal government pays, I think, 50% of it. Now, if the states will pay, you know the problem of states paying, that was his worry. But the state governments and local governments pay. A federal government will give them the money. How would they pay when they have problem of paying workers and some other areas in the state? My suggestion is it not possible for the federal government to deduct whatever they are going to pay the states from source, and the national health insurance will pay directly to the providers. I think that way that problem of that fear will be removed, because if you allow the state to pay capitation to healthcare providers, there will be an issue there. There will be a big problem because they may not pay. How does the federal government guarantee that the state, the money they give to the state, they will pay? How would they do that? Because they may have other challenges that prevent them. But if they deduct that money, since they pay the states every month or every quarter, their monthly dues, they can deduct the one concerning health from source there and give to national health insurance. Because national health insurance, they have not failed. They have not failed.
Of engagement with the informal sector, being that in as much as this is very good and laudable project, it can be there and people will not be aware. I'm very particular, you actually mentioned out of pocket expenditure is quite high, up to 70%. And I believe in that the formal sector, mainly civil servants, both state and federal, even if they are after, that's a very small percentage of the population. So our attaining universal health coverage will be very slow or very minimal if we don't target these people. So I don't know what is your level of engagement with the organized informal sector. Thank you.
The last question, we'll give it to our colleagues in the virtual site. Is there anyone that we have some colleagues that are joining us virtually? So let
About the informal sector, sir. Before now, I think in Taraba State, the only community that came into this program is from Bambayantu. And what did they do? Okay, let me give you how they normally come. When we go to a community, before now, we ask each and every one of them to pay 1,000 naira per annum. I work in Benue, and I gave you this. Those people who are ask them to pay 2,000 naira per annum becomes a very big burden to them. Sometimes we ask them, Papa, in a whole 1 year, to pay 2,000 for your health cover, you cannot purchase it. So I want to tell you, Papa Yantu, some of their boys, okay, not boys, sorry, some of their guys and ladies, they contributed money to cover their community. That is for the informal sector. Now, for us to digress from that program, that's why, you know, we keep advancing in the politics. That's why they brought the issue of gift group, individual, family, social health insurance program. That is GIPSHIP. So if you want us to cover your committee from now on, if you want to be a senator, if you want to be a House of Rep member, just come to our office. Gather your people, or if you cannot bring them, we'll go there and we will register all of them under this program. I don't know whether I've spoken well. Under the informal sector. Even if you are retired, you can even work under the informal because you don't have money again. So I think with this, I've been able to answer your question very clearly.
I want to appreciate the National Health Insurance Agency for the presentation. We'll give this opportunity to the PAMSEC, perhaps.
Thank you very much, National Health Insurance Agency. At least we've been enlightened this afternoon. One good thing is that I went home about 3 weeks ago. Some of my relatives that were at least disturbing me every day, I sent money for. I was able to register 3 of them, different locations. So I told them that, look, from today, just once you are sick, just go there. You say you have BP, go there. They treat you. It is actually a laudable innovation by the federal government. Thank you very much. And now we are going to, at least this one is going to be a marathon lecture by Dr. Swabki. He's going to talk to us, update us on monkeypox and cholera at the same time. So let's listen to him and maybe make our contributions. Thank you very much. So thank you very much. Dr. Swab, are you ready?
Good afternoon, the Permanent Secretary, the Director, my senior colleagues. I'm actually here to represent WHO to present cholera. This is the outline of the presentation. We're going to take the outline, overview of the cholera in Nigeria, case definition, management, vaccine, and channels of reporting. We know that cholera is actually an acute enteric infection that presents with vomiting and profuse diarrhea, which is rice water in nature, transmitted through polluted or contaminated food, person to person, through ingestion of the gram-negative bacillus called the Vibrio cholerae. The epidemic is actually associated with confirmation of the 2 serotypes, 01 and 0139. In Nigeria, the first case was recorded in 1970 with about 22,931 cases and 2,945 deaths, which is on the high side. The second outbreak was in 1972. Last year, we had about 111,000 cases with over 3,600 deaths, which is higher than the death rate recorded from COVID-19. That same last year, 33 states were affected with 435 local governments. In 2022, in Taraba, as of week 30, epic week 32, we have recorded 1,136 cases with 63 deaths, giving us a case fatality of 5.5, which is still on the high side. And these cases have been recorded from 8 local governments. And the local government that gave us a very high case was Bali, with over 435 cases, and also followed by Ukari local government with over 270 cases. Then we have Gasol with over 209 cases. And then of recent, we had the cases in Lao local government, in which some of them were admitted in FMT. The symptoms of cholera, as I've said, is rice water. Sometimes there may be no fever, no abdominal cramps. There's usually dehydration. The patient may lose up to 10% of the body fluid. I've said earlier, mode of transmission is fecal-oral. It can also be transmitted via contaminated food. So we said the mode of transmission is fecal-oral. It can also be transmitted via contaminated food. In fact, like the first index case we had in Gashaka local government as at week 16 was just a woman that took mango. And that mango, after taking it, had profuse diarrhea. The next thing she died, people taking care of her had human-to-human transmission. So 2 of them were admitted in a private hospital in Garibabi. And then the peculiar thing about this cholera transmission is, like in Taraba, most of the cases have been recorded from individuals lying along the river areas. We have River Taraba ranging from Karilamido axis to Lao, then Gasol, Bali, Ukari, that's the Bantaji area, then Ibi. Most of the settlement along that route have the cholera. How do you control it? Surveillance. We have to do active case search, prompt management, health education, water and sanitation, then vaccination. So we want to look at the case definition of cholera. Any patients greater than 2 years presenting with acute watery diarrhea with severe dehydration or dying from acute watery diarrhea with or without vomiting. Or a suspected case can be in an area where there is an outbreak. If there's any individual dying from acute watery diarrhea, we can now say it's a suspected case. There's also community case definition. In a child that is 2 years and above with a lot of watery diarrhea, we can also have alert where 2 or more people that are more than 2 years old have acute watery diarrhea with dehydration, or 1 death from a severe acute watery diarrhea in a person that is older than 5 years, or 1 case of acute watery diarrhea with RT positive results, or in a health facility and community where health care workers should. Okay, healthcare facilities and community health workers should immediately report any case of cholera alert once we get any of this cholera alert, we need to report immediately. Where in the case definition, a confirmed case is when we have cultured a suspected case and have gotten Bible cholera 01 or 0138, 139. So in Taraba, all the 30 cases from last year, we had only Bible cholera 01. We don't have the 139. So a case of cholera is declared as, a confirmed case of cholera is declared as an outbreak. So in Taraba, we've had 30. So we already have the outbreak in 8 local governments. And unfortunately for us, it's a year round. It started from week 26 of last year. That was mid-year, around June, and we are still having cholera up till now. Let's look at the case management. How do we go about it? We have to, first of all, set up a cholera treatment center or a unit, cholera treatment unit, or an oral rehabilitation point. Then ensure that staffs are trained and they have the right protocols. And then they are accessible to patients. Then we have to work closely with our epidemiologists. That is why when you see our case definition flyers, you see the phone number of the epidemiologist boldly written there. Then health workers need to be trained, and the lab also need to be trained on how to use RDTs. And then we have to work closely with the WASH people from the rural water and sewerage system, sewerage, that's of the water, Ministry of Water Resources. We have to work with them. So the first thing when a patient comes to you is to assess the degree of dehydration. It's very important because approximately 20% will develop profuse diarrhea and lead to severe dehydration and death if not treated. So the severity of the illness correlates with the number of the Vibrio cholerae bacteria ingested, or lack of immunity of the individual, lack of breastfeeding, or malnutrition, immunocompromised states, and reduced ability to produce gastric acid, and having blood group O. Then you triage. You assess the degree. After assessing the degree, whether it's severe dehydration, which is a medical emergency because we still have mild cases of cholera in an outbreak. There are some that don't even have, they just have some dehydration. Then for those with no dehydration, they can be treated in oral rehydration points, or they can be treated as an outpatient basis in the cholera treatment center or treatment units. But for patients with severe dehydration, they must be admitted in cholera treatment center. For each patient, complete the admission triage form with personal information, just like you know the name, the address, examine, treat, the physical examination and diagnosis, then treatment and lab data. Additive results, specimens are taken and sent for culture. Usually, we collect assessment and send it to the public health lab where we do the confirmation. Then the outcome can be the patient can die, the patient can self-discharge himself or be referred. So in assessing for dehydration, this is a common chart we use, especially in IMCI, where the degree of dehydration is stated clearly when there's one or at least two of the following. You use plan Plan C, that's for severe dehydration. Then if it is some dehydration, you use Plan B, and no dehydration, you use Plan A. So the treatment, as we said, is based on the degree of dehydration. Plan A requires just rehydration with ORS, which can be done on outpatient basis. You don't need to admit the patient. But Plan B and C requires admission in cholera treatment center or treatment units because there is fluid loss and it needs to be corrected. Patient with severe dehydration requires IV rehydration, which is Plan C. All patients should be included in the line list because as you are doing this, that's why you say you involve the epidemiologist, you involve the lab scientists, and the rest. They'll line list these cases in the register. So we all know, I don't need to waste your time on how to use an ORS. It's very, very important. You need to educate your patients how to use ORS. How to prepare it freshly, not to use it more than 12 hours, not to be refrigerated, the volume of water to be used, and then slow administration and when to increase it. So this is a table for preparing and administering ORS, which you normally know. For an individual that is less than 2 years, you give 50 to 100 meals after each loose stool. And for an individual that is 2 to 9 years, you give 100 to 200 meals per loose stool. And then a child that is above 10 years can take the ORS as much as possible. Then for IV, the first line of IV fluid of choice in cholera management is Ringer's lactate. In the absence of Ringer's lactate, you give normal saline. So usually, we give 100 milligrams per kg of Ringer's lactate solution in divided dose 12 hourly. The rate of infusion should be reduced in children that are less than 1 year old or in children within the age of 1 year. Very important. So this is how to give the Ringer's lactate for severe dehydration in cholera outbreak. What are the complications? Children with severe acute malnutrition or elderly people and those with uncontrolled chronic conditions such as congestive cardiac or heart failure, diabetes, hypertension are especially vulnerable to complications. So we can also have pulmonary edema can occur if excessive fluid is given. Hypoglycemia or hyperkalemia can also result as a complication. For children, we need to add zinc supplements, which is very, very important. Then zinc may reduce the absorption of some classes of antibiotics, including Cipro. For the best effect with those classes of drugs, antibiotics should be administered 2 hours before zinc or 4 to 6 hours after the zinc tablet is given. That's when we are going to give the antibiotics. The antibiotics of choice for management of cholera is doxycycline, given 300 milligrams start. Or in children, it can be given 2 to 4 milligrams per kg for children under 12 years. In the absence of doxycycline, we can give 1 gram of azithromycin start or 1 gram of ciprofloxacin start. For children under 12 years of age, give as a single dose. So, azithromycin for children is given at the rate of, is it 20 milligram per kg, maximum of 1 gram. Cipro is also 20 milligram per kg, maximum of 1 gram. So it's doxycycline is the first line. There's no provision for flagyl or tetracycline or anything. Doxycycline is the first line. Then the absence of doxycycline, we talk about azithromycin. The absence, we use Cipro. So before we discharge patient, it's very important and not just treat patient and allow them to go home. You educate the patient. Then after the education, you talk to them on safe water. It's very, very important because the education has to do basically when to come back, when it's getting, the condition is getting bad or worse, then you give them enough ORS to go home with. You educate them on the use of safe water, hand hygiene, caring for other patients in the house, the importance of cooking food thoroughly before you eat in communities where there are outbreaks, then removal and washing of their beddings. I want to look at sources of infection that is of importance in our cholera treatment unit. People are source of infection. That's why we limit movement in and out of patient relative in cholera treatment units. Water, you need to provide safe water. Hand hygiene, it's very, very important. Cooked food should be encouraged. Hot food, which should be served very hot in areas where there is an outbreak. No leftover food should be taken at home by those patients. Then patient clothing should be washed with 0.2% chlorine. Environmental contamination too is very, very important since we don't have laws backing our open defecation, laws against open defecation. So handling the corpse is very, very essential. So in our city use, we need to have our soap water. We need to educate the healthcare workers on the 5 moments of hand hygiene before touching a patient. After performing a procedure, you need to wash your hand. After touching a body fluid, after touching a patient, after leaving the hospital surrounding. Waste management is important. One of the ways we succeeded in controlling cholera in Gasso local government was waste management. The patients were not allowed to wash their beddings within the hospital. There's an area that was just marked for them to use that so that it will not, the water will not flow back and contaminate the environment. They are not, in fact, they are stopped from going into the street to wash water because once the water is flowing down, you will still contaminate the people that are living down. So the body fluids and vomiting should be emptied in latrine. Plastic buckets and other containers should be used to transport the body fluid and must be properly washed after disposal of patient waste. And then protective PPEs should be used. Before I conclude, I just want to talk about oral cholera vaccine. Although in Taraba, we don't have it yet. It's important is that it's important because it helps to contain ongoing outbreak. It limits the spread of the outbreak in new areas and also prevent outbreak occurrence in settings with high risk of cholera transmission. So we need to have a clearly defined geographical area and population to be targeted. Like in Taraba, we have actually placed a request to the national for the cholera vaccine, and we have targeted 615,209 patients, individuals in the community to be vaccinated. And the condition is that they must have a confirmed case, cultural case in that community before they will be given the vaccine. So we are still waiting for the vaccine to come. So these are the channels of reporting from our community to the health facility. The health facility, DSNO gets the information, and then to the state epidemiologist. Before it gets to the state epidemiologist, the DSNO moves the sample to the lab, the results come back, then goes to the state epidemiologist, then to the NCDC and our partners. From the lab to when an RDT is positive, the sample is taken to National Reference Lab for culture. So, what are the key points? Without treatment of cholera, it can kill up to 50% of patients, especially those with severe disease. So it's very important that we treat timely and appropriate treatment, significantly reduce the risk of death. Approximately 80% of patients infected with cholera do not develop symptoms of the disease, although this individual can still transmit the disease by shedding the viral cholera in the environment. And the bacteria lasts for 14 days in the visit. Thank you.
So please, you can note your questions down. After the second presentation, we'll take the question and answer at the same time.
So I'm also privileged to take monkeypox. So the overview is the outline. We'll take it this way, this format. The general overview. Route of transmission, identification, lab investigation, and control strategies. Actually, as you can see, monkeypox is an infectious disease caused by monkeypox virus and is characterized by severe rash. Typically, it is self-limiting, but can lead to severe illness or death. Death can occur in about 11% of cases, especially in the younger age group. It occurs primarily in the rainforest areas of West and Central Africa. The natural host of monkeypox is not known. Many species of small rodents and non-human primates are susceptible to monkeypox virus. Following the eradication of smallpox, monkeypox virus emerged as the most significant orthopox virus in humans. Monkeypox is a zoonosis transmitted to humans from animals with symptoms similar to smallpox, but it is less severe. So there are two distinct subtypes of monkeypox virus. That is what is called the two clades. The Central African clade, which is located around the Central African areas or regions, which account case fatality of 11%, and then the West African clade, which also is common in Nigeria, with it's less severe, with deaths up to 6%. It was first identified in a non-human primate. The virus is also found in rodents. The monkeypox in human was first identified in 1970 in Democratic Republic of Congo. And the routine report shows that there was more than 1,000 suspected cases per year since 2005. Geographical distribution since 2016, we can see the country, Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Liberia, Nigeria, Congo, the Republic of Congo, Sierra Leone, have had their cases from 2016. In 2018 to 2019, we confirmed cases among travelers from Nigeria in Israel, Singapore, United Kingdom. And in 2022, we've recorded as of yesterday, there have been 157 cases in Nigeria with 4 deaths, although Taraba was not captured in the death. Animal to human transmission, we say this is noticed. Definitely it's transmitted from animal to human. So the human infection has occurred from handling infected animal, giant porch rat, rope, squirrels, and monkeys. Infection results from direct contact with the blood or body fluids or external lesions of infected animal. Eating inadequately cooked meat of infected animal is also a risk factor of transmission. Most human infections, for most human infections, the source is not known. So these are the animals that can easily or at risk of sharing the monkeypox virus. So, how does this disease progress? We have generally the incubation period is 5 to 21 days. The first 4 days is a febrile stage. The first 2 to 4 weeks gives you the rash stage, and then this much later there is a recovery stage. During the incubation, the patient can be asymptomatic. The virus is usually present in the bloodstream at the end of the incubation period. During the febrile stage, the patient normally presents with fever and other symptoms like swollen lymph nodes, headache, chills, sore throat, malaise, fatigue. The virus is normally in the blood, and small lesions in the mouth may occur towards the end. This is the rash stage. Macule to papule, vesicles, pustule, and then we can now have the crust. The virus may be in the blood early in this stage of the rash stage. The virus is present usually in the skin lesions, and then antibodies are produced and become detectable. From this rash stage, usually the last stage is the recovery stage, which the patient have recovered, but there is still specific antibodies that are present in the blood, and scars may remain. So during this, like the summary, during the incubation period, there's no symptom. During the febrile stage, there's lymphadenopathy, headache, chill, sore throat, malaise, fever. Then the last stage, there is rash on the skin, and then the recovery, there is no symptoms. So the West African clay, in which Amelia said, have these symptoms: rash, fever, headache, pruritus, lymphadenopathy, chills, sweat, malaria, sore throat, fatigue, ulcer. But the most common symptom that we see is the rash and the fever. Then the least symptoms that we see is vomiting and nausea, and also this conjunctivitis or sensitivity to light. There are some complications of monkeypox. It can give pulmonary infection and vision loss. It can have secondary bacterial infections, abscess, and airway obstruction. Monkeypox can also give pneumonia. It can give bacterial infection of the blood, inflammation of the brain, encephalitis, and also miscarriage, and also death can result from it. Then long-term consequences of monkeypox can be scary, reduced skin pigmentation, and blindness. Let's look at the comparison, just brief comparison between monkeypox, chickenpox, and measles. These are the differentials of monkeypox. They all have fever, they all have rash, they all have lymphadenopathy. No, only one have lymphadenopathy, and then they can also lead to death. In terms of fever, of course, the monkeypox is within 1 to 3 days before the onset of the rash. But that of the measles is 1 to 2 days before the rash, while measles is 3 to 5 days before the rash. The rash usually, in the appearance of the rash, the monkeypox, the lesion often is one stage of development, while the lesion in chickenpox is multiple stages of development, while in measles is often in multiple stages of development. Then the rash development is normally slower in monkeypox, rapid in chickenpox, and rapid in measles. Distribution affects the face, the palms, and the soles. That's for monkeypox. Chickenpox usually dense on the throat, absence in the palms and the soles of the feet or the hand. So that of measles starts on the face and spreads, sometimes reaching the hands and the feet. This is how they present. You can see how a classical monkeypox is. It cannot be hidden, while that of the chickenpox is not as that of monkeypox, and then that of measles. What are the factors that influence the cause of monkeypox? We can have asymptomatic infection that occur in patients that are exposed. We can have risk factors for the severe illness, which is common among the risk increases in children, immunodeficient individual, immunocompromised, those that have invasive routes of infection, and then those that live within the Congo Basin clade variant, or those that live within the Congo Basin, they have the risk of severe illness of the monkeypox. What are the protective factors? We have prior to smallpox vaccination and also case fertility ratio. In Congo Basin clade, it's about 10%. We need to do surveillance, map the person, the place, and the time, detail case investigation, specimen collection, and also the primary case or the co-primary cases, and then the secondary cases. Once the single case is seen, it needs to be, the health authorities need to be notified immediately. So this is the case definition. A suspected case is an individual that has fever greater than 38.3 degrees centigrade with headache, lymphadenopathy, back pain, myalgia, distinctive and progressive rash, including that of the hands and that of the feet. A probable case, the case of suspected case with epidemiological link to a confirmed case or the other probable case. Then the confirmed case is also the one that has been confirmed using the lab. So, during the incubation period, samples cannot be collected because most of the time they are asymptomatic. They may only have headache, fever, or asymptomatic. It's during the febrile state that we can collect nasopharyngeal or oropharyngeal swab. Then during the rash stage, lesions fluid or lesions roof or lesion crust can be taken. In the recovery phase, we take the blood so that I get the serum. In collecting blood sample, I remember collecting sample when we first had 2 suspected cases in Taraba. It was somehow because most people were not trained, but the EOC have. Infection prevention control is very important using the PPE, hand hygiene, environmental decontamination. Then, as usual, the sample bottle is used to collect the sample, but before that, you have to write the name, the address, and then the date of collection of the sample. Then you use the dry polyester transport swab or the dry swab, and also screw cap plastic tube with O ring. This is how to take the swab from the brush tissue, or you put the swab, after collecting, you put the swab in the container. For lesion roofs and fluids, you can use your alcohol prep pad. You wipe the area where the lesion is. You now use a disposable scalpel and then the swab stick, collect the sample, and then put it in a screw cap plastic tube. This is how to collect the sample. Using the PPE, you remove, and then you put it in the swab container, and then you also put it in the screw red cap container, which is a universal container that contains no either ET or any chemical. So for crust, it's still the same consumables that you use, the same procedure as collecting the other sample. Then for serum, we use 2 different sample containers to separate the serum. Usually we take 5 mils each. You allow it to clot and centrifuge, transfer the serum into vial, and then store the tube at -20 degrees. When storing or transporting, we need to put in a jail staff overseeing carrier. Usually it is triple packing system that is used. You put it, you wrap it, you pad it, and then you close it. This is how it looks, the packaging. Then you use the fasted mode of transport. That means you're not allowed to collect sample and just keep it for days. And then the temperature must be at least 4 degrees centigrade. So, how do we investigate the lab? Usually after transporting the sample, we can use the PCR. The PCR, the small amount of DNA is enough to detect the monkeypox virus and identify the virus clade, whether it's the West African or the African, Central African clade. Then, for the virus isolation, we can use the virus isolation or the electron microscopy. There's also antigen dictation. Since it's an autopus virus, the autopus antigen can be detected from the sample. It's very important as you are transporting to this sample to the lab, you ensure that the local risk assessment is made, the core requirements is heightened, and also you have control measures on ground. The laboratory worker must wear protective equipment so that they don't spread the infection, and also vaccination for personnel working with autopus virus. How do we manage? Usually, based on the signs and symptoms, which include fever, swollen limbs, sore throat, rashes, eye redness, monkeypox treatment remains supportive and as symptomatic as the symptoms present themselves. That is how you manage them. Specific antiviral treatment is still on the way. This study is on the way for that. So the course of treatment depends on a person's overall health status. Bacterial infection of the eye, 4% of the skin, and also 20%. Okay, complications. We can have complications from the monkeypox, which gives bacterial infection, diarrhea, or vomiting leading to dehydration in 7% of cases. We can have local pneumonia, abscess, and airway obstruction, and also encephalitis. The danger signs can be loss of vision, delirium, loss of consciousness, convulsions, respiratory distress, bleeding, inability to produce urine, signs of sepsis. Then we can also have long-term sequelae, which is blood marks, scarring, or loss of pigmentation, corneal ulcers, and blindness can be long-term sequelae. Then complications can occur in pregnancy, leading to bleeding or miscarriage, and also it's important to optimize supportive care and also mental health support because it is really, really depressing. What are the elements of patient care? Fever and pain management, skin, eye, and mouth care, hydration and nutritional support, mental health support, prevention and treatment of complication, infection and prevention control. It's a holistic management. Because most of the times they just present as if they only have the skin manifestation or that's the rashes, but we need to evaluate them holistically and give them all the care that they need. So in fever, just like we said, we give antipyretic or non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. For rash, you should avoid touching it or scratching the region. You gently wash it, clean, dry, hydrate, use GB or Nystatin cream. Treat inguinal or dental ulcers with warm saline seed baths or light supertool dressing. We can also have severe mouth ulcer, which can be very, very painful. So we need to wash the mouth with warm, clean, salted water. For severe ulcer, consider GB or antibiotics. We also use vitamins C and multivitamin. There can be eye complications for monkeypox. We give vitamin A, protective eye pads, topical or oral antibiotics, tetracycline, trifluridine eye drops or ointment. Do not use steroid ointment or drops for eye complications. You can have respiratory care is important since it can be pneumonia, so pulmonary hygiene, physiotherapy, supplementary oxygen, empirical treatment with antibiotics, bronchodilator, medication, and ventilation supports. Rehydration therapy is also critical since there can be scars that lead to fluid loss. So you treat the condition affecting nutrition, mouth sores, vomiting, diarrhea. Consider for young patients oral vitamin A and also breastfeeding. The caregiver to take precaution by using masks and also the issue of hygiene. Mental health, very important. They need the support of the psychologist, social health worker, specifically trained or a specialty, a specialized nurse. Then we also offer for the care of the monkeypox complication, a non-intrusive practical help to calm the patient and keep them informed what to know, what to expect, what to care for themselves, and how to take precaution. This is just a big table showing specific cares. So, in all this is, we need to be careful. We need to have infection prevention control so that we don't, in trying to dictate and manage, we don't spread the infection. So standard precautions have to be observed by risk assessment, high hygiene practices, respiratory hygiene, top etiquette, personal protective equipment, injection, medication safety, cleaning and disinfecting procedure, and also waste management. Additional precaution is contact precaution, using the high hygiene before the use of PPE like hand gloves, and then droplet precaution include hand hygiene before and after use of PPE. You also add masks and eye protection, at least 1 meter between patients and others. We need to isolate these patients. Why? To minimize the risk of transmission. How? With the use of physical barriers, keeping a distance of at least 1 meter at all times. How long? Until new layers of healthy skin is formed. If the new layer is not formed, we cannot. Although I know it's a very difficult one because some of these patients are still roaming around. Then this is how the isolation should use to look. We need to have an isolation room with hand washing, gowns, masks, goggles, cleaning and disinfecting agent, waste management, safe handling of linens. You can also have it in this bathroom. These are the bathroom should be isolation room, the architect chamber. At home, what do? We follow the advice of the health worker, provide separate area to care for the child, for the individual, use protection, wash the linen with care, disinfect surfaces and floor, wash hands frequently. So mention the 5 basics of high hand hygiene, 5 moments of high hygiene, using the sanitizer, you use it on. These are the process of rubbing, which is very important. You don't just put it and just rub anyhow, but you follow the 6 steps. So this is just showing disposable personal protective equipment, how to put it on, and then how to take it off. How to take it off is very important. Most of us know how to put it on. But taking it off, we have to remove the gloves, then perform hand hygiene, then remove the goggles, then remove the masks from behind, and then perform hand hygiene in removal. So hand hygiene is twice during removal of the PPE. Injection safety is very, very important. How to discard the syringes after use. We have to ensure a clean workplace, clean the gloves, use sterile injection equipment, and a bar should be used only once per patient. Ensure sharp are disposed properly, and then proper waste management. So we may need to also sterilize our handsets, our around the hospital environment, disinfect. Then waste management by minimizing or segregating, collecting, transport, storing, treating, and disposing. All those aspects are very important in monkeypox. And then let's look at how do we do our, let me just conclude with this 2 minutes. Manage outbreak of monkeypox. Once there's a case of monkeypox in Taraba, it is an outbreak. In Taraba, we have 5 cases. It requires immediate reporting. It is notifiable to WHO when unusual, unexpected, or may lead to international spread. We now know that in UK they have, in US they have over 10,000 cases of monkeypox. In UK, I think over 1,500 cases. So it's a problem. So the purpose of monkeypox outbreak investigation is for the public health, to confirm the outbreak, to notify, isolate, assess the source of infection, mode of spread, prevent future cases, and also the knowledge you have to describe the geographical area, assess characteristics, case care, and also monitor person-to-person transmission. The steps, these are the steps to take if you suspect monkeypox. You report to authorities, you confirm the outbreak, you convene a multidisciplinary team, you develop a case definition, then you identify all cases, you describe, analyze data, conduct special studies, and communicate results. That is what we do in Taraba EOC. It has been done. Let me just, because all these are the steps that are. So how do you respond? Surveillance, contact case tracing, case management, infection prevention control, risk communication, community engagement. The community must be engaged. If not so, you cannot succeed. There may be some of these cases just roaming around the community. And then safe and dignified burial is an important component of response coordination. You can see. This is our EOC actively working the director coordinating the state DSNO, Dr. Beatrice and others. So we are on it. We have been working on monkeypox, the cases in Taraba, and we believe that with the stakeholders on ground, we share information, we coordinate response, we set up monitoring and evaluation. We also go for house-to-house sensitization for this monkeypox. So, raising awareness of monkeypox, what to know. Yes. Avoid contact. This is a key message we need to send to the people. Avoid contact with wild animals, especially those found sick or dead. Wash hands frequently with soap and water, especially after caring or visiting a sick people. Then do not share beddings, clothing, towels, or utensils. Thoroughly cook all foods containing animal meat or fat properly. Then use PPE and then isolate infected patients in hospital or at home. Then finally, monkeypox is an emerging disease. Monkeypox can be seen in endemic countries or anywhere in the world. Report any case of suspected monkeypox. Take all preventions or precautions to prevent the spread. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Swami, at least for educating us about the monkeypox and cholera. At least now we are well educated and we put on more surveillance. And we now welcome comments, questions, and contributions. Any question? Before we move to our the last presentation for today. One, any other person? Now we start with Dr. Adam.
Thank you very much. I question centers around the monkeypox. The 5 cases we have in Taraba, probable cases, confirmed cases. The second question I want to ask is isolating the patient. Who are we isolating? Suspected case, probable case, confirmed case.
Mine is actually a contribution. Question. We have had a lot of information regarding monkeypox. But one of the take-home messages that we want from here is that any febrile rash meets the case definition of monkeypox. Unless you are certain what that rash is. If not, every febrile rash, there is no age barrier. It doesn't tell you it has to be maculopapular rash. It has to be skin. The case definition say rash, fever, and any other thing. Rash is the most consistent symptom among all the symptoms of monkeypox. So anybody with rash that you cannot explain is a suspected case. As a senior health workers in the facility that we are, once these cases are seen, they are the facility. Of course, if you manage a suspected case, most likely you are going to qualify to be a contact. Very likely you are going to qualify to be a contact. And as an administrator there, your staff may come and say, okay, since I have contact with these patients, you know, many of us don't like work. We'll say we want to go for self-isolation. According to the guidance for monkeypox, a contact that is asymptomatic does not require isolation or quarantine. The person can continue to do his routine work, but the caveat here is the person has to be routinely monitored. If the person develops any symptoms that qualify to be suspected case, then the person can now be isolated. As a health worker, before they report to the hospital, you have to actively ask them, is there any fever when you left work yesterday? You want to ascertain that the patient does not have symptoms. If not, the patient need not to go for self-isolation. If not, very soon, all the health workers will go for self-isolation. That's my.
Thank you very much, Dr. Swabsky. So many questions, but because of time, I'll just take one or two. You say we should avoid contact with wild animals. But you see people on the road, they are collecting revenue from people selling bullshit. So I don't know, what do you have to say about that? And then when we were discussing about cholera, cholera, as far as I'm concerned, is a disease associated with poverty. And then that issue of open defecation. So I don't know, why can't we have laws against it? Because it's a major problem. And then the other question is that when we have a public health emergency, who pays for it? Because in FMC, we have some cases, and sometimes this epidemiologist getting across to it is a problem. So how do we solve that problem?
Thank you for the questions. The first one has to do with the 5 cases in Taraba were actually confirmed. 2 cases were confirmed in the month of June. Then we have the 3 cases were confirmed also from the National Reference Lab. In fact, 3 of the cases are in Jalingo. 1 is in Gashaka, 1 in Kurmi, confirmed cases. It is actually the confirmed cases that should be isolated, not the suspected cases. You can't just touch somebody and say you're suspected and then you keep it. Even if it's a probable case, you don't keep them there. Then with regards to the question on bushmeat, you see in one of the presentations, we made mention of not properly cooked. It's difficult sometimes to stop people from eating all this bushmeat. Some people enjoy eating their monkeys and the rest. But the small bushmeat from Gashaka, from Kurmi exists. And those are the areas that will have monkeypox. So if you must properly cooked, then the issue of open defecation, actually, there is this target that the Nigeria will have this open defecation to achieve law against open defecation by the year 2022, but nothing has been done about it. I remember in 2018, we were talking about something like that in school, about open defecation law, but I don't think anything has been done about it. Then with regards to public health emergencies, who pays for it? I think I'll direct it to the secretary.
Afternoon. Well, concerning this emergencies, who pay for it? All of us pay for it. Actually, it's a responsibility of any government to take care of its people. So the state government with the support of federal government and our partners, pay for that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Before we go to the last presentation for the day, the next presentation is going to be the last one for the day. So let's do the last. We are coming to the end of the presentation. But before we go to the last presentation, I just want to ask us a question because there's something I want to say following it. Do we still have COVID-19 in the state? Then how do we establish we have COVID-19 in this? To continue to test. As a health administrators that we are all here. Before now, we used to go for community testing, mass testing. As it is now, COVID-19 testing should be integrated as part of patient care. Now, you cannot differentiate COVID-19 and malaria. You cannot differentiate COVID-19 and typhoid. You cannot differentiate COVID-19, tuberculosis, and pneumonia. And the test is free. So I expect that if we request for 10 typhoid tests, without tests in the facility, we are also expected to request for 10 COVID-19 tests. Most of the secondary health, all the secondary health facilities have COVID-19 RTT tests. And it is our responsibility as the clinicians, we are the ones that are seeing this patient, means the onus lies on us to actually make this request. If we are not making this request, there is no way patients will be tested, and there is no way we can say whether we still have COVID-19 in the state or not. Interestingly to say, during the peak of the pandemic, the local government that seems to be quiet, they are the one that seems to be answering now. So it's good for us to continue this surveillance. The RTT test is free of charge. Patients will not pay anything. Please, let's take advantage of that and continue this test. So we welcome Dr. Suleiman Kirim for the last presentation on complementary and alternative medicine. Welcome.
Senior colleagues, good evening all. This is a very strange topic to some of us. How I wish we are going to have this discussion tomorrow morning. Everybody is looking tired and exhausted. Hello? Hello? All right. We are going to look at complementary and alternative medicine. At the end of this presentation, we hope to understand the meaning of complementary and alternative medicine. We should be conversant with at least the major groups of complementary and alternative medicine. We look at the merits and demerits of complementary and alternative medicine, and we hope at the end of this presentation to know our roles as physicians. We are going to achieve this objective within this outline. By introduction, the practice that lies outside the mainstream of official medicine have always been part and parcel of healthcare system worldwide. Recently, CAM have become more prominent in almost all parts of the world. People have incorporated CAM into their conventional health care. So the traditional practices that form the backbone of complementary medicine and the conventional medicine we are practicing, they share the same philosophy, such that they are aiming to relieve patients from their suffering. So I want all of us to have an open mind into the discussion into this discussion. As the field has evolved, so also the terminology in complementary and alternative medicine. Some centers or some countries are calling it unconventional medicine. Some say unproven medicine, alternative medicine, complementary medicine, holistic, integrated, integral are some of the common terminologies that are used in discussion of complementary and alternative medicine. By definition, the National Health Institute in United States of America, having realized the importance of traditional medicine usage, they constituted an office called Alternative Medicine Office under the NHI in 1992. So this office was charged with the responsibility in monitoring the activities of traditional medicine. By 1995, they were able to come with this definition of complementary and alternative medicine as a broad domain of healing resources that encompasses all health systems, modalities, practices, and their accompanying theories and beliefs, other than those intrinsic to the politically dominant health system of a particular society or culture in a given historical period. This was the working definition until in 1998, when the government of the United States of America decided to convert the Office of Alternative Medicine into the National Center for Complementary and Alternative Medicine. Having collated so many data and have tried to organize a lot of training and retraining, the National Center for Complementary and Alternative Medicine in Maryland in 2000 were able to modify the definition to come as a group of diverse medical and healthcare systems, practice, and products that are not currently part of the conventional medicine. Currently, this is the working definition of CAM. For research purposes, the Cochrane complementary medicine field define CAM as all such practices and ideas which are outside the domain of conventional medicine in several countries and are defined by its users as promoting health and well-being or preventing and treating illness. So these are the common definition for complementary and alternative medicine. The medicine we are practicing currently, known as orthodox medicine or allopathic medicine, is also called the conventional medicine. This is the one the holders of MBBS dental degrees are practicing, as well as other allied of health professions, such as the physical therapists, the psychotherapists, registered nurses. These practices are termed as conventional medicine. So call it orthodox medicine or allopathic medicine. We need to know in practice, complementary medicine is used to describe practices that are used in conjunction with conventional medicine. So complementary medicine is used together with complementary medicine, whereas alternative medicine is used in place of conventional medicine. These terms need to be clear. The practice of alternative medicine actually is not acceptable in most countries in the world. Just alternative medicine, referring patients entirely to other healers. So integrative medicine is what we are practicing currently. And this refers to a practice that combines both conventional medicine and complementary and alternative medicine in treatment for which there is evidence of safety and efficacy. So most of the practices today in almost all parts of the world is a form of integrative medicine. We use the conventional medicine as well as part of the complementary and alternative medicine. Holistic medicine is another area that uses complementary medicine. It's an art and science of healing that addresses emotional, spiritual, nutritional, environmental, as well as lifestyle practice. This is a definition given by the American Holistic Medicine Association in 1978. The current trend in the usage of complementary and alternative medicine. Complementary and alternative medicine is now practiced globally. According to the World Health Organization, 65 and 85% of world healthcare services are classified as traditional medicine, as it is today. Reports on the prevalence of CAM actually varies globally, but what the WHO is saying, 7 to 80% of the entire population in the world are using CAM in one form or the other. In Western Europe and Australia, regular use of CAM ranged from 20 to 70%. There was a study done in 1996, in 1990 and 1996 in the United States of America by the National Center for Complementary and Alternative Medicine. When they did an initial assessment in 1990 with regards to the usage of CAM, and same study was repeated in 1996, they were able to note 45% increase in the usage of CAM in the United States of America. So from that study, they were able to discover that visits to CAM practitioners increased from 400 million to 600 million people per year. And the amount of money spent on these practices rose from 14 billion US dollars to 27 billion US dollars in between 1990 to 1996. According to the latest survey, majority of US and European medical schools have already incorporated complementary and alternative medicine into their curriculum. Randomized controlled trials have been carried out with the CDC funds and are now in concrete laboratory for those that want to check. I have the website in the reference. In developing countries, especially in Africa, traditional medicines observe 80% of primary health care, particularly as up to 30 to 33% of the population have no access to conventional medicine. In Nigeria, studies carried the rate of 65% was recorded at the University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital, Enugu, and 31.1% among children with chronic health conditions was recorded in Lagos Teaching Hospital. About 85% of Nigerians are not to use and consult traditional medicine healers in the form of healthcare, social, or psychological benefit because of poverty and dissatisfaction with conventional medicine. This is actually one of the major reasons why people patronize traditional healers here. In developed countries, studies have shown that the use of CAM is commoner among younger adults, female gender, people with higher level of education, people with higher income that are in higher social class. These are the people that commonly use CAM in developed countries. But the reverse is the case in developing countries. Studies have shown here, especially in Nigeria, male were more inclined to the use of complementary and alternative medicine more than female, while the usage of CAM increased with low income in this part of the world. Age and educational level have no relationship with the usage of CAM in developing countries, including the two studies that I quoted earlier on. Hospitals, one of the reasons why people patronize alternative and complementary medicine, hospitals are perceived by consumers to be time-consuming and expensive, while the practitioners of CAM are easily accessible and they are affordable. Let's look at CAM in Nigeria. The Nigerian government, in realization of the indispensable role of alternative medicine will play in the country healthcare system, In 1977, they sponsored 4 experts to India and China at different times to study alternative medicine as practiced in India and in China. These people came back and they submitted their report. The report and the recommendation given by this expert on their return, among other things, included the establishment of the institution of learning where complementary and alternative medicine could be studied in Nigeria. As a result of this recommendation, the government then in 1988 promulgated Decree 38 establishing alternative medicine and recognized the practitioners as members of the Medical Rehabilitation Board of Nigeria. In 1992, another decree was promulgated under the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, providing legal basis for practices of all forms of complementary and alternative medicine in Nigeria. Presently, there are researches in several universities in Nigeria, especially in the area of pathology. Example in the Departmental of Pharmacognosis in OAU, IFE, and in Ibadan, as well as in ABU Zaria. They have a special department for these researches. The future of traditional medicine is bright, and even the critics admit there is rising patronage of complementary and alternative medicine globally. What the WHO is saying, they are projected that the market will be worth up to $5 trillion by the year 2015 in the area of complementary and alternative medicine. So we are going to the main categories of term. This classification of term was based on the one practiced by the Center for Complementary and Alternative Medicine in USA, and is the one we are using presently in our curriculum in this country, where they adopt only where they included term as part of our curriculum. It's divided into 5. There is a whole medical system or alternative medical system, mind-body intervention, biological-based therapies, manipulative and body-based method, as well as energy therapies. Whole medical system, this is based upon complete system theory and practice. There are different types of practices under this whole body medical system. Homeopathic medicine, naturopathic medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, and then there is Native American medicine. All these are forms of whole medical system. Mind-body intervention. This use variety of techniques designed to enhance the mind capacity to affect bodily function and symptoms. Types of practices under mind-body are meditation, prayers and mental healing, hypnosis, guided imagery, yoga, therapies that use creative outlets such as art therapy, music therapy, dance therapy. All these are mind-body intervention. Biological-based therapies are practices using substances found in nature. Mostly these are herbal therapies, special diets in the form of microbiotic, extremely low fat or high carbohydrate diet. And the use of mega vitamin therapy in the form of automolecular medicine, individual biological therapies, the sharp cartilage, the P or the pollen honey. All these are under the biological discipline. Then by the manipulative and body-based method. This is based practices. These practices are based on manipulation and or movement of one or more parts of the body. Practices under this are osteopathic manipulation, therapeutic massage. So these are some of the explanations. And the fifth one is the energy therapy. This involves the use of energy field, and there are 2 types: biofield therapy and biomagnetic-based therapy. The biofield therapy are intended to affect energy fields that purportedly surround and penetrate human. The commonest and the biomagnetic involve the unconventional use of electromagnetic field. So these are some of the explanation, philosophy, diagnosis, and the treatment modalities for the different types of term. With Ayurveda, we may not have time to go into details. For those that want to read about it, the information is here. And then chiropractic is also here. Homeopathic medicine. Each of these is almost an hour lecture if we are to go into the deep philosophy, the diagnosis, and the therapeutic of them. So we may not be able to explain them. Naturopathic medicine is something that we can go through later. The more explanations are here. Breathing exercise is a form of mind-body medicine. We can go through it. Meditation, we mentioned, is as part of the mind-body medicine. Laughter therapy is also under that one. Prayers, as we mentioned, is the commonest form of alternative and complementary and alternative medicine practice in Nigeria. Is also under this. There is a therapy as well. We'll look into it. We can go through it later. Aromatherapy is another. This is a type of manipulative and body-based practices. We can go through. This is an energy therapy, as we mentioned. Acupuncture is coming into the country newly, and this is something that we need to understand very well. It's one of the so the acupuncture is a theory that is a major theory. It is achieved through a balancing of yin and yang, and disease is caused by the imbalance leading to a blockage of flow in qi. What they are saying here, yin and yang are forces that exist within the human body to ensure that there is a free flow of qi in the system. This free flow of qi is the one that sustains the people's health status. Any abnormality that affects the yin and yang will lead to the blockage of flow of qi, and that will result in illness. This is the philosophy behind the practice of qi. So what acupuncture is using is just to use some needles to ensure that there is balance between the yin and yang to allow for the free flow of qi, so that there will be the expression of healing in the body. Today, acupuncture is practiced almost everywhere, and most commonly is that which involves the penetrating the skin with a solid needle that are manipulated by hands or electric stimulation. So these are other types of Chinese traditional medicine. Herbal medicine is second to prayer in Nigeria. After prayers, studies have shown that Nigerians tend to patronize the herbalists more, and this is they use either in the form of a finished labeled medicine product that contains active ingredients, either the aerial or the underground part of the plant materials, in combination with other things. It's either used as single herb or mixture of different herbs. Chinese herbs actually tend to add certain parts, animal parts, to enhance its potency. Unlike the conventional drug, in which a single active chemical may be extracted and isolated, herbal medicine usually make use of medical plant in its own form. These are the common herbs that are used in practice: garlic, peppermint, chamomile, St. John's wort, ginkgo biloba, all these, neem tree, lemongrass, a lot of others. So they usually come. Today we see a lot of them in this form. They can come in. These are the drugs that are derived originally from plant. All these drugs are as we know, they are from plant. These are the common. We are going to look at the common types of terms that are practiced in Nigeria. We mentioned herbal medicine is commonly practiced in Nigeria. some of the herbs, like the one we stated there, is the core drug in the treatment of malaria, artemisinin, is derived from plants. Faith-based calm is also very popular in Nigeria. Faith healing is within the realms of the spirituality and medicine, where the metaphysical and supernatural interface with the physical. There are a lot of miraculous cures after prayers and meditation. These are well documented. And acupuncture, as we mentioned earlier, is also in use in Nigeria. Some centers are trying to go, some medical schools are teaching homeopathy, chiropathic, osteopathy. These specialties of them are available here and actually are being regulated by the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria. Dietary supplement is one of the key things we use in Nigeria. The definition of what dietary supplements are here, I put it here for us to go through, and then they come in the form of tablet, capsules, soft gels, and liquid powder. Dietary supplement commonly used in the management of obesity. Studies have shown that they can increase muscle building and improve performance, promote overall health and wellness. They can be used in treating and preventing illnesses like cold and flu, and then they can alleviate depression. So, having mentioned something about the complementary medicine, how do we now look? How do we put calm into our practice as integrated practice? We have to use scientifically proven evidences to be able to achieve that. For now, what we are able to establish, fish oil, which is used as supplementation, can benefit people with heart problem, hyperglycemia, rheumatoid arthritis. You know, this fish oil we use it a lot, cod liver oil, it comes in different strengths, 300 milligrams, 1000 milligrams. So studies have shown that it's evidence-based that it can be used. So we as orthodox practitioners, when we use cod liver oil, for example, we are practicing what is called integrated medicine. We are using complementary alternative medicine into the practice of our conventional medicine. So this is scientifically proven. Acupuncture should be considered as a treatment option for common painful conditions such as chronic low back pain, neck pain, and headache, especially the migraine and tension types of headache. Studies have proven that acupuncture is efficacious in the management of chronic pain. Green tea is associated with decreased risk of stroke and cardiovascular disease and may help in the prevention of cancer of the breast, gastrointestinal cancer, as well as prostate cancer. Yoga reduces functional disability, pain, and depression in people with chronic low back pain. Strong evidence support body-mind medicine for efficacy in the treatment of coronary heart disease, low back pain, and headache. In the management of arthritis, there are studies suggesting improvement with homeopathy, acupuncture, vitamin, nutritional supplement, botanical product, diet therapy, mind-body approach, and manipulation therapy. All these are treatment modalities that can be used in management of arthritis. What are the challenges in the practice of calm? Increasing number of parts and talents, peddling from non-effective to outrightly harmful products are available, especially in this part of the country. Many calm products cannot be patented, so private companies are redundant to fund researches in that area. Many therapies are not open to scientific investigation. Actually, a lot of calm practices, you can't actually test them scientifically. How do you test the ring contraceptive, ankle contraceptive given by herbalists? Don't just give a ring to a woman. Keep on having your affairs. You are not going to take in any pregnancy. So how do we explain that? These are issues that are, and then how do you test the efficacy of Magnum that parent or husband gives to their wife to prevent them from promiscuity? These are things that are clinical, but these centers that we mentioned in ABU, in IFE, even in the, what they say from the clinical pharmacologists, they said to be able to come up with efficacious precious substances, especially from herbs, is usually very tedious, and the process takes like 10 to 15 years, and the cost is prohibitive. There is also a seasonal variation in trying to extract some of these active ingredients from the herbs, because there are certain constraints of the herbs that tend to decrease during the dry season, and they may increase during the rainy season. So when you harvest this herb, may actually affect the active ingredient that you may want to look into. Many practitioners of term regard their art as secret, and sometimes shoot their knowledge in assumption, with the end result of loss of knowledge in the future generation. So they don't actually share the knowledge with others. Some they don't even pass it to their children. Forests that provide important medicinal roots, barks, flower, fruits are rapidly disappearing to provide room for urbanization, mining, and some of the trees are used as fuel. Proper knowledge of correct dosaging is also a major challenge in terms of efficacy and safety level. Inability to subject some plant therapies to scientific testing give rise to stupidity. You need to be careful in their usage. So even if you administer some of these substances, you may feel some initial relief. What we are saying here is it could be a placebo effect. What is our role as physicians? One of the major challenges we have not captured here is the issue of medical legal issues and certification. There are no guidelines in the practice of this complementary and alternative medicine, even though the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria was able to give out something. But you hardly see the practitioners being presented to the Medical and Dental Council for malpractices. And then the certification is also a challenge in Nigeria. How do you certify these people? Most of the centers that are teaching complementary and alternative medicine in Nigeria are medical schools. They are teaching medical students so that they can be conversant with this issue. There is no designated center where complementary and alternative medicine alone is being studied in Nigeria. So certification is a problem, honestly. So what is our own role as doctors? What we need to know is that patients will definitely confront us with the issues that regards to the use of term. So what we need to do as doctors is to be able to make an informed choice. For us to do that, we must have knowledge of terms seriously. So specifically, physicians can protect, we can permit, we can promote, we can partner with our patients with regards to the practices of terms. Physicians can help to distinguish between terms practices with little or no risk of toxicity and those with high risk of toxicity. So physicians should especially be cautious about products that can produce toxicity. Work with patients so that they do not abandon our proven care in place of term. So the conventional practitioner can play a role in examining the research base of term and work with the patient to incorporate more evidence into the healthcare decision. Quality research on this product can help to provide evidence, and physicians can help interpret the evidence to the patient. Ignorance about term practice by physicians and scientists can broaden the communication gap between public and professionals and the patient. All physicians should learn about these practices and discuss them with their patient. How do we promote the use of term? Those proven therapies that are safe and effective should be available to public domain. As research continues, expanded options for managing clinical conditions arising, and the Cochrane database is coordinating efficacy of this term, publications on term, and conventional medicine, trying to come up with this evidence-based decision. As research accumulates, rational therapist options can be developed in these areas. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, term is an evolving area of healthcare worldwide. As a wide diverse system of varying approach and philosophies of healing, can usually is incorporated into conventional medicine and used as integrated medicine. So physicians, especially those of us that are practicing the whole person medicine through continuous healing relationship, are in ideal discipline to advance the integration of safe and effective calm into our skills for the maximum benefit of our patient. Thank you very much. These are my references.
Thank you, Dr. Suleiman, for your presentation. Another round of applause for him. Have a seat. Where will we ask questions? We'll give this opportunity for questions, clarification. I know we'll have a lot of questions to answer, to ask. Okay, let me start from the bottom.
Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. Mine is not a question as such, but a suggestion of the Nigerian Medical Association. If it will be possible for the association through the Ministry of Health to bring in these complementary and alternative decisions and see how to welcome them with an open arm. So the reason for the suggestion is if we don't do that, whether you like it or not, these people, they are there. And some of them are doing well, while some others are committing a lot of havoc. And I cite an example for those who are in surgery department, orthopedics, for example. When you go through their list on a weekly basis, it's hardly, you will not find cases of amputation. And most of these amputations, as a result of poorly managed fractures taken to traditional bone centers, and they mess up the whole thing, and they come to the hospital, just tell them amputation. So, but if the Ministry of Health can organize seminars, workshops, all these people, all these traditional bone centers, call them for meetings, call them for seminars and workshops, let them know how to draw a line. Let them know where to stop. Let them know when to refer. I think it will do a lot of good in reducing all the morbidity and mortality that we are getting from people going to patronize them. The same thing applies to other complementary alternative physicians. We can organize seminars, workshops for them in different groups. For the faith-based practitioners, we can organize a seminar workshop for them. Let them come. We tell them we are very happy what people are doing, and let them know where to stop, when to send their patient to the hospital. Likewise, that's my suggestion. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you very much, sir, for this thought-provoking presentation. This is actually the first time I'm listening to this kind of topic presented. My worry, sir, is I hope we are not dabbling into an area where we will not be able to swim through the sea. I'm saying this because from the very beginning of your presentation, I kept wondering between complementary and alternative medicine and our orthodox practice today, which one is actually the first? Is it right for us, the orthodox, to call them complementary and alternative? Or they should be calling us complementary and alternative? That is one. I'm saying this because if you look at it in the course of time, they have been there before us. So thank God you agree with me on that. And secondly, I have a case at hand now that I'm worried. Now that we are talking about integration on an area that even our council is finding it difficult to regulate and control their practice. In fact, even the content of their practice is still neither here nor there. And we pride ourselves on the fact that we are scientific in all of our approaches. So if you are bringing a practice that the science is very doubtful. In fact, when you were explaining the yin and the yang, I was happy because the science there is difficult to understand. The case I have at hand now is a patient that came, is a lecturer in the university here. He has prostate cancer, advanced stage. And when he came, he was advised to go to Gombe. He went to Gombe. They told him clearly, this is stage 4 disease. There is very little they can do for him. He came back. Resources are scarce. And you know that university lecturers have not been paid for some time. And the little money he had to manage himself, he came and asked me whether he could visit a traditional healing place where they combine both prayer and herbs. I told him no. He eventually went, and I learned he spent a lot of resources there. When he came back, I wasn't happy. I'm beginning to wonder now, after listening to your lecture, whether I was right to advise him on the contrary, because we are the ones now trying to bring them in. And he has come back. I didn't see any change in him. In fact, he's deteriorating. So how can we really navigate ourselves through this as orthodox practitioners in this kind of scenario? Thank you.
I want to thank the presenter. This is stimulating. But we should also come home and look at where we are. I don't know if I've not been outside Nigeria, so I will not talk about other countries. But at least I've traveled around this country. The number of charlatans are so high that it makes a mockery of alternative medicine. That's my own opinion. Actually, we need to decide. Like the last speaker mentioned, when I was a small boy, if somebody falls, it's the Libyan. They call us now the Libyan. It's the people that they rush that sick person to, who gets leaves and gives to the person. But gradually today, in my own community where I come from, people hardly go to them. My experience in Taraba State, I work in the emergency of Federal Medical Center, Jalingo. And one day they were bringing one girl who had a fracture into the emergency room. And as they just stepped in, the arm that was fractured fell off, dry gangrene. About a girl of about 9 years. You know what that means? She lost the whole arm. My stupidity is I should have taken a picture so that we keep posting it and reminding ourselves. I have tried visiting them in their places to see actually what they do. I am inquisitive. And most of what they do is shrouded in secrecy. Nobody will tell you the name of the herb. Nobody is ready to share anything with you, even if you are ready to pay money. I followed up one girl that was visiting a traditional healer. Along the line, she developed a liver problem. Jaundice, very severe jaundice. They brought her to a pension. We were trying to see how she can get some care, at least, to see if the liver will recover. Immediately she started getting better. They took her back. The man said, if you bring her back, and of course they took her back, she died. So what I'm trying to say is we need to do research. But we're dealing with people that are secretive. I look at this one as something very, very important. Not only that, their advertisement at times is frightening. If you don't treat Candida, you don't treat HIV. And some other misconceptions that follow their practice. So in Nigeria, I think that we are still far from where we should be. We should concentrate on our work, and if we are going to investigate, because we have not even researched on our own area, I'm afraid we may not be able to go into this area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. My chief, thanks for the presentation. These people don't have problems. We are the ones that have problems. And one of the problems we have is that we feel they are inferior people. We don't want to cooperate with them. You see, when he was presenting, it was that the medical and dental council recognized them. But as I'm telling you now, there is already a bill on ground. The traditional and complementary and alternative medicine council bill is in the National Assembly. You see, the main problem with this thing is that if he did not come to this, most of us do not know what it means. Because in Africa, we think it's all about jazz and apes. And then if you go back, when they were having when the Minister of Health went there, he was thinking of make from this, and to me was thinking that the best way to help them is to give them land to plan the medicinal plants and apes. And even the Pharmaceutical Council, and they needed a large piece of land to plant apes. You understand? So the problem is understanding these people. So I think what we need to do, just as I said, we need to work with them. That's just the truth. And then the main problem here is research. Because if you say they abuse their profession, as I'm telling you now, there is somebody that is doing operation in jail. It's not a doctor. He's practicing orthodox medicine. And there is nothing much we can do because of the problem of the regulation. You understand? So I think it was a very interesting topic. The most important thing here and the key one is we must invest in research and then know what we are doing and then benefit from it. That's just the truth. Because other countries are making a lot of money from it.
Thank you, Dr. Suleiman, for that wonderful presentation. In fact, it's a thing of concern to every one of us because we are dealing with the health of the people. Actually, I get worried, especially when it comes to the area of this herbal, medicine. And the adverts for this medicine is so hard. You see them everywhere on social media. And they will describe all types of diseases. And one of those herbal will tell you a lot of diseases that they can cure. And at the end of the day, they will say no side effect. And then when you happen to come across this herbal medicine, you will see NAFDAC number. This presentation, I would have loved if we have NAFDAC official there with us. I don't know with this number, are they really, yes, really a number coming from, before you have another number on this, herbal medication, that must have been satisfied. There must have been certification for such things. But here, they will describe all types of diseases, one herbal drug is curing, and they will tell you no side effects. Because I know that even when we're in medical school, they say even water has side effects. And you will say that there is no side effect. So I don't know the rule of, enemy, NAFDAC, and then these very categories of people that are involved. What are they really doing to contain all this? Because people want to see on Facebook, on YouTube, you see them all on WhatsApp, and a lot of people, when they just speak it like that and take and do everything, they just go to the market, they buy or they make a request, and they start taking it. At the end of the day, they will land in the hospital with what do we do about this?
It's a lot of concern.
actually excited and happy that people have followed. I thought I've not even said anything because I'm all trying to, I have about 74 slides. I wanted to discuss each slide, but time was against us. But thank God we at least we are going home with something. The issue of the comment made by the first speaker, I think Dr. Ada, was just a comment, but there was a question from Dr. Aboki, who was confronted with somebody with advanced prostate cancer, and he was trying to be sought for his guidance to patronize the camp practitioner, but he outrightly said no. And that is the essence of this presentation. For us to understand what this complementary and alternative medical practice is all about. When we know them very well, we can know those that are so that when we are canceling our patients, we can cancel them with evidence, with knowledge. We can, in fact, traditional medicine was in existence for many centuries before the coming of orthodox medicine. You can't doubt its efficacy. They have a lot, they can do a lot of things. But it's just that there are no regulating bodies. Look at the way they did in America. When they realized that a lot of people are patronizing these practitioners, was to set up the activities of these practitioners. If you claim to have something to treat people, yes, come and register. We will follow you to determine the efficacy of your product. If it is efficacious, then you go ahead with what you are doing while we keep monitoring you. And this, I told you, this National Health Institute in America, in 1992, they set up this Office of the Alternative Medicine. They were monitoring all these practitioners all over America. So by 1998, they were able to even define what complementary and alternative medicine is. So if your product does not fall within this definition, it's not allowed to be practiced in the United States of America. And this is just our problem here. Everybody is practicing what it feels like doing. Our monitoring agencies are extremely weak, or they are rotting by corruption. You understand? I saw a herbal product, a patient brought to me. I contacted somebody from NAFDAC. We helped me confirm whether this thing is genuine. When they checked their database, it was duly registered. And the patient was coming with advanced liver disease because of toxicity of that product. So what do you have to say? When we say, when they were advertising that a lot of carbonated drinks are sugar-free, we conducted a study in June while we are doing residency to test the availability of sugar in this sugar-free. A lot of them contain sugar, and they are marketing them as sugar-free. When we wrote to NAFDAC, it's just a matter of this bottling company. Go and settle NAFDAC, and they are marketing it till today. So what we do as practitioners is to understand this issue and guide our clients. When they ask, doctor, can I take zero coke? I say, no, please don't take zero coke. This zero coke they are talking about, it may contain some sugar and it's toxic to you. So because a lot we have investigated and found out that they are not really, it's not strictly free from sugar. So this is the same thing we need to apply to the conventional medicine. When that man confronted you, what you need to do actually is to practice what we do in family medicine, is to go ahead and see the traditional practitioner, see what he does. And if what you are trying to see is whether his interventions are toxic, are going to cause toxicity to the patient. If you notice that there are things that will harm the patient, don't allow the patient to go. If you notice that they are going to use fraudulent activity to get money from that patient, don't allow the patient to go. Then what you need to tell the patient is, if you are going for prayers, prayer is not a substitute to our conventional intervention. And that is why we are emphasizing the use of integrative medicine. when we bring element of calm into our orthodox practice, that is what we call integrated medicine. By the time we completely surrender our patient to traditional practitioner, you know, that becomes an alternative medicine and it's not encouraged. But we need to integrate. But for us to integrate properly, we must know what they are doing, especially the commonest practices in Nigeria. If somebody comes with maybe low back pain and seek for your opinion to patronize traditional healer, don't allow the person to go and be managed by traditional healer alone. While you are administering your intervention, you keep encouraging the patient to be cautious about substances that will require him ingesting, inhaling, you understand? Or even installation in the eyes or ear or topical substances. These are the key words that you need to tell your patient, that you need to tell the patient. So if the practitioner is giving such substances, I'm encouraging you to come to me. Let me see them so that we can see the practitioner together and determine whether those things are toxic or not. So what you need to do, Chief Aboki, was actually to follow this patient, to see the practitioner and understand what he does so that you can guide your patient. And then while he is doing what he thinks he can do as effective, let him keep doing what we are giving to him as orthodox practitioner. And that is what we mean by integrated medicine. I hope that is clear. For the issue of, this is what Dr. Mark said now, the issue of NAFDAC, the issue of NMA, I think it's far above us. NAFDAC may not be able to handle this issue, as I'm telling you, because NAFDAC, even the medical and dental council, they need to be careful. You understand? That is why up till now, they don't have a standard document guiding the practitioners of these complementary and alternative practitioners. They are registering some of them, actually, those that present some form of certification from outside the country. They do register them. But up till now in this country, we don't have a certified institution that can give license to people to practice. Yet, the number of traditional practitioners in this country far outnumber the orthodox practitioner. You can see the studies that we have got. Almost 80% of Nigerians are patronizing complementary and alternative practitioners in one form or the other. So, and it is because of ignorance. Some of them are not very comfortable with the care we are providing. Sometimes the hospital environment is not friendly. Sometimes they don't have money. So these are some of the reasons. So I think these are some of the, I don't know whether there are issues that are not addressed.
Another round of applause for him. We appreciate you so much for this enlightening presentation. I think one of the things that struck me in the presentation is that praise is the commonest camp that we practice in this country. Prayers. That means we as Orthodox practitioners, we actually need to integrate this into our practice. I think as a follow-up to that, the CMA committee will take note of that. In case we still come to you, please, you oblige us. There is a new concept of spirituality in medicine. Perhaps next presentation, we will consider to put it so that we should get educated about it. It's only when we know something, we can actually integrate it into our practice. We want to appreciate everyone with the cooperation to stay up to this very moment. I actually want to commend our elder, the Pope said, when I saw him coming, I felt bad that a person like this will actually come before virtually all of us here, sit here, even up to this very moment. I think it's something that it should challenge us. We want to appreciate this. With this, we have come to the end of the program for today. Tomorrow, registration.
But a little announcement. Actually, we have some comments that the hall is very, very empty. I believe we have to change that kind of scenario tomorrow. Our elders, we appreciate the time actually you spent from the beginning to this time. And also those that stayed from the beginning to the end. We are saving the last dance. That is the best for tomorrow. Tomorrow is the main. That is the opening ceremony. And I believe tomorrow is packed with a lot of programs. First thing in the morning, 6:30 a.m., I believe we can spare that time to move to Afona Square. Yes, to witness the match between enemy Taraba football team versus All Star. I don't know, maybe Dr. Aboki may be one of the defendants. So spare time to come, that will take us just 1 hour. And immediately after that, we'll get back to the hall here and continue with our CNE. Because the opening ceremony will be by 10 a.m. So we believe that between 8 to 10, if possible, we might have taken one topic so that the main topic, like the theme and the subtheme of this year's AGA, which is the postgraduate medical education in Taraba State, the benefits, challenges, and way forward. And secondly, the involvement of medical doctors in partisan politics. I believe we will do well to come as early as possible, start in time, because after that, the AGM and the election, and the thinner will still come by 7. So with this packed program, I believe we should have time, come in time, and also encourage others that are not here. We should not invite people and they come in and see our whole interest. I believe this one will concede it and assume as if nothing happened like that. But I believe tomorrow, invite the other doctor that has not been seen here, but please do well to attend. Thank you very much. Okay, that's the close of today's program. We'll see you tomorrow.